Thanks so much for joining us in Second Act TV. We're back today with Paige Valdiserri, who is in her Second Act studios talking about her second book, The Red Bag. Tune in and find out what's in it. Paige, it's so great to be sitting down with you today. This is an exciting day for you, the launch of your second book, The Red Bag.
Thank you. I'm excited about it.
Connecting the journey of healing through life, death, and beyond.
Yes.
Tell us about that. What's the Red Bag?
So without giving too much away, because the reader will go through the book and experience what the red bag is all about, but we all have what I like to say, red bags when we come into this lifetime. Maybe yours is blue, somebody else is a different color, mine's red. So when we come into this lifetime, we pack in luggage. We pack in everything that's happened to us, the great stuff, the difficult stuff, the traumatic stuff. Every experience that we experience goes into our red bag. And most of the time, the people that I work with, they stuff it so much that it bleeds out, they can't close it. So it's figuring out what pieces to keep, what pieces not to keep. And this red bag isn't just about this lifetime. This red bag is how we all connect, whether we realize it or not, from beyond this earthly realm. And the messages that we get for daily healing, daily living, and the messages that we get every single day that we might not be open to really taking in. So this book is about not only my experiences during different traumatic times that the world has gone through, but with my clients and my clairvoyancy and how I've helped people with the healing, but it's what I've carried in my red bag and what other people tuck in their red bag and how powerful each person's bag is once you know you have a bag.
Paige, what do you hope to accomplish with this book? What do you want this book to do?
Oh, wow. Many different things. Many different things. For me, I came into this lifetime for a purpose, and we all have them, to help others. And through my experiences, both in this lifetime and messages from beyond the earthly realm, and everything I've experienced, both personally and professionally, it's how my red bag and everything that's in it, I unpack to give to people through this book. So it's taking what I've learned, what I've experienced, not just from myself, but also with all the clients of the decades that I've worked with and situations that I've been in, and how I can take that and bridge it, because I think of myself as a bridger. I bridge my experiences with mainstream. I bridge my experiences maybe with some people who are like, oh, I'm not sure about that. Have a taste of it, see how that can integrate into their life. I also bridge my experiences with the behavioral health world, because by trade, I'm a trauma therapist, amongst many other different kinds of things. And I work a lot with the medical doctors and the medical field, and how everything that I've learned, how that can be integrated into the behavioral health world, and teachings and trainings for therapists, and how also that bridges into the medical world, medical doctors, practitioners, surgeons, whoever it might be, and how you bridge them both, the behavioral health with the medical. Because we're not separate. We're all connected. Anything that is living, and we all vibrate, we all have various frequencies, so we're all connected to everything and to each other. So how do we connect that, bring the information to that, so we can live a life, because right now this life is pretty darn hard to live with all the things that are going on and the fast pace. So how do you live that life?
So Paige, specific to you then, what is in your red bag?
My red bag is how I came into this lifetime, how I was born into this lifetime between illness, death, clairvoyance, and psychic realms, which you'll read more about that in the book. It's about my own personal traumas, PTSD. It's about working on or in big traumatic events, 9/11, Katrina, working in war zones. It's about traveling through my life, being a caregiver. It's about hearing messages from beyond this earthly realm and seeing them, and how I take that in to help others. So there's many different pieces, and it also has in there what I do professionally, and what is the integration of everything that I've learned, what I bring to this lifetime, what I bring to my work, and how that needs to integrate into the medical world and the behavioral health world.
Paige, one of the populations in the book that you specifically address is first responders and military. Tell us why that's important.
Well, I have a soft spot for that population because I've worked with them for decades. And if you think about it, Like Sukkah, when you think about the job that you do every single day, or someone who's a banker, or someone who's in retail, whatever it might be, they don't have to deal with life and death scenarios all the time. Sometimes in the first responder population, you have to take somebody's life to save another person's life. Many times you can't save a person's life, and how that wreaks havoc within you in every way. And there's a personal story in here from a client of mine who was Special Forces, and within Special Forces, he was a medic, but also a sniper. So think about that combination for a moment. And it's about his journey of what he has gone through in that world and how it's affected him, and then doing the kind of work that I do and how that's been powerful for him in a very different way. So yeah, I'm here to not only shed light, but also to give support and help in a different way. Because the way that we've been doing things, some of it works really well, some of it we really need to expand more, and I'm all about, here, take this, we need to expand more to help this population, and this is why they need it. And not only the population of the first responders, but their family members and those that they love, and why that's so important, and how their life career affects their personal life.
And I would think that there's a lot in there for the spouses and family of first responders.
Well, it gives a little bit of an insight, because first responders don't always tell their loved ones everything they're going through. They keep that wall up to a certain degree, and they need that wall, because if you bring it all the way down, they can't go out and do everything that they're supposed to do. And the first responders, what I've seen and what they've told me and what I've experienced, because I've been on site and seen with them so many times, is they're not going to go home and give the gory, terrible details of what they experienced. So as spouses, the spouse may want to know everything that went on in the day, and they may only get this much, because that's all that they can share that day. So this is a really good understanding of the courageous and brave client of mine, who's a male, who was passionate about writing this in this book. And he says, and don't quote me, but he says something to the effect of, if I can help one more person not kill themselves, then I want to jump in and be a part of this process. So,
relationships, that's a big section of the Red Bag. Tell us about that.
Well, it weaves in and out through the whole Red Bag, from me being a baby, with the relationship with my mom on the first year of my life, what happened that was traumatic there, but also very angelic at the same time. The relationship with my grandmother and her clairvoyant skills, that people didn't really know a lot about that way back then when she was alive. Relationships with my clients that I've had in the book, some with brain tumors, others with a sniper. My relationship very intimate relationship with one of my clients who had triple negative breast cancer, and her journey with myself and how I helped actually transition her. Relationship with my husband and his illness, and the facets of the illness, touching on when we have medical illness. Is it really medical? Is it behavioral health? Is it a combination? The relationship of being a caregiver and what that does to you, for you, and between each other. The relationship I have with my field in behavioral health, and how I'd like to shift some things in that field. My relationships with medical doctors, practitioners, how we've integrated to make healing bigger, better, more accessible, and why that's so important for everybody. And the relationship of death, mortality, because that's a topic that people don't want to talk about. They stay away from until they're faced with it, whether someone that they love has died or someone is about to die, because we're all going to do it. So it's that unknown, and it's what I've experienced and what I've been given to pass forward through my shamanic journeys, different types of clairvoyance that I have, experiences from messages from beyond this earthly realm, information I've been given to help all of us here with that whole unknown of death. And let me be clear that I do not have all the answers. I don't think any of us do, but I get pieces. I always get pieces of what's needed for that time in my life to help others. So if each person has pieces, we can get a little bit more of the picture of this scary thing and unknown thing that we call illness and death.
What is the biggest takeaway in the relationship section? I'm sort of hearing you say it's loss, dealing perhaps with divorce or death. Would you elaborate on that?
Well, it's not just a section in the book. It's how the relationships with yourself, each other, relationships with whatever you hear or see or messages you get from beyond this earthly realm, relationships of everyday living. So whatever you're going through, you can open up this book and go, I either had that experience or that theme has run through my life, or I'm just starting to step into that experience. So relationships run through the whole book. Because as we live here in this life, it's what is our relationship with living, what is our relationship with healing, and what is our relationship with death. And how all three of these commingle, intertwine, thread with each other, and what is our relationship beyond this earthly realm. And I think that's all I'd say about that right now.
Paige, a theme that, of course, is throughout the book, there is a very spiritual side. You're all about the spiritual. Explain how that works with religion and different beliefs.
Great question, Salka. So I grew up Catholic, and so learned all about the Catholic faith and was kind of taught what a God was. But deep inside me, I kept going, you know what? That can't just be one thing. There's so many facets out there. So through my experiences, my learning, everything that I've gone through in my life, what I've learned is that I've had many different experiences that can bridge religion, spirituality, someone who's an atheist, believe it or not. So everything that's in this book, someone can kind of pick it up and go, okay, I can see how I can believe a piece of that, or no, I'm not sure about this. I'm not here, whether someone's reading it in the book or having a conversation with me, I'm not here to change someone's belief systems. I don't believe that. I'm here to say you have to have some kind of a belief system, even if your belief system is in nature, because that's healing. I'm here to say, take this, my experiences, everything that I've gone through and my clients have gone through, and see what pieces can integrate. Again, here's that word, integrate. I'm all about integration. See how those pieces can integrate and maybe weave through what you already believe. Or maybe you're on the border. You're at a crossroad that, you know what, I've been doing this, practicing this religious belief or this spiritual belief for so long, and I'm just ready for something else, or I'm at a new place. Maybe there's an opening here of what you want to step into. Because I don't think that there's any right or wrong way if it helps you. So it's, here you go. Take what I have and see if there's pieces that you want to take in right now, or others that you just want to tuck away for a little bit later.
The whole integrative health and wellness and Eastern Western medicine is a huge component. Explain that.
Yeah, and that is an actual, you see that weaved throughout the book with experience I've had with clients, with my husband, with other people, and then there's a chapter that's really about how do we integrate the behavioral health and the medical. And that might seem very broad, but I don't believe in this or that. I believe we need it all, because each person is built differently and we're all individuals. So something that works for me might not work for you, so there has to be options. And I get passionate about this because the insurance companies and health and wellness aren't catching up with people are requesting and asking for integrative healthcare. So I work a lot with and teach medical students or doctors some of my approach and some other things that can help them when they have their patients sitting in front of them. And in the behavioral health realm, I also teach therapists, hey, I don't think we should just be doing talk therapy, and there's other different great modalities out there that we have in the behavioral health realm, but we need to be working with this, the body. You have to put hands on the body. There's things going in the body. And how do you take the behavioral health and the medical and bridge it together and actually have, shocking, behavioral health practitioners, medical doctors talking, working together, sharing patients, being innovative as to what somebody needs. And then the other real big important part that I speak about is whether you're a therapist or a medical doctor or a surgeon or an oncologist, whatever you are, when that patient comes and sits in front of you, if you don't know what's going on inside of yourself as the doctor, everything that patient brings can be a mirror back to you. And I talk a lot about mirroring, and I won't get into it now, but I talk a lot about mirroring and triggers, and you have to know what that is. Because a lot of times as a doctor or a therapist, whatever it might be, if you don't know your stuff, that could re-trigger who's in front of you. Or you might give the impression of a wall, of I'm not going to get too close. And when people are going through tragic, difficult times, they need that intimacy, they need that closeness. So I talk about why that's important and give examples in the curriculum of how we integrate that into medical schools and behavioral health schools and how it works together.
Paige, as two women here talking, you've done incredible stuff. You've done stuff that I would never want to do, especially as a woman in the parts of the world that you've worked. What messages do you have for women? What can they take away?
Broad topic, but I can just say I'll whittle it down as much as I can that, we always hear those words, be authentic, speak your voice. And I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, what the hell does that mean? Be authentic, speak your voice. And I always talk about, before you can be authentic and speak your voice, you have to know your knowing. And so what is your knowing? And I talk about that in the book. What is your knowing? So I teach women, young girls, how to go inside and know their knowing. What does it look like? What does it feel like? So they talk about relationships. That's a relationship within themselves and a relationship within their knowing. So as young girls, women, we want to mentor them and teach them. We can bring all the business development things that they need. We can bring all the facets. Here's what you can do. This is what I've learned. But until you teach a young girl or a woman how to connect with their inner knowing and their wisdom, they're not going to be able to grow to their full capacity. And that's what I think is the key for everybody. But since we're talking about young girls and women, that's what I teach. And that's what I think is paramount.
Do you find that women in particular are at some level more receptive to your message than men?
Great question. Women are more receptive right from the beginning. Men will blow it off until they sit down one-on-one and then they're wide open. So men like to be more receptive behind closed doors, where women are like, yes, I want to have that more. But I think that's starting to change, and it needs to change. And I'm glad you brought that up, because in the book, my husband writes his own chapter, and he's been through hell and back and, with illness, and what he has learned as a man, and how he's taking what he's learned from me and what he's learned from his own journey and teaching young boys and young adult men how to connect with their inner knowing and how to connect with their heart center, which is missing in the world.
Paige, another interesting segment that we may not think about is journalists.
Yes, yes. I'll expand on that a little bit, Silka. So if you think about it, everybody has traumatic, life-changing events that happen at some point in their life, cumulative, whatever it might be. And we've talked about first responder populations and what they go through on the job. But I don't ever hear people talking about what TV anchors reporting the news, journalists who are out on the front lines of the news, the media in general. Every day they have to report the worst things ever and how that affects their body on a how that affects their body on a physical level, emotional, energetic, mental, nutritional, spiritual. No one ever talks about it. And I'm sure as heck no one's teaching it in schools, journalism schools, whatever it might be. And how do they take care of themselves so that they can not only do the job well, but have a life while they're doing the job and after the job. And that's something that really does need to be addressed, because they report the worst news all the time, but no one's talking about, well, how are they doing? What do they need? It's vital, it's important.
Paige, another big segment of the population you address in the Red Bag is caregivers. Tell us about that dynamic.
Well, I speak a lot in the book about dynamics that really aren't spoken about, but need to be spoken about. I've gone through caregiving with my husband's illness, and it's a topic that people don't address. Caregiving is draining beyond belief, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. So the caregiver goes through what they go through, the patient goes through what they go through, and then they both have a dynamic that they go through together. So within the chapters of caregiving and the very personal story of myself, my husband, many people can relate, whether you're caregiving a parent, a child, a spouse, of, yeah, that's what goes on, that's how I feel. Oh, I'm allowed to feel that way. So there's a lot of giving permission about things, and there's also putting a spotlight on the importance of what goes on between the dynamics. And most importantly, what are you supposed to learn through a very trying, difficult time? Whether we're talking about a traumatic event or in the world of caregiving. You know, what are the underlying messages that you're supposed to learn? How many times people have said to me, caregivers have said to me, this is hell. What do you mean I'm supposed to learn something from this? And I can say, everything that we go through, there's always personal growth. Even if it doesn't turn out well, the way you wanted it, there was always something that you learn from it. So I really teach and talk about what do you learn through difficult times, and what are the messages that show up from beyond this earthly realm while you're going through the caregiving process, or what the patient goes through. What are the messages that show up for them beyond this earthly realm as well? So I have a different lens, a different perspective in helping people through it.
Well, and I can comment, having gone through that as well,
Right.
that's one of the messages that I appreciate most, maybe not most, but certainly right up there in your book, is that you focus on the caregiver.
Yeah.
You know, there lots of people focus on how to give care and, you know, finding the best this or best that, but you need to take care of yourself, giving that permission.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, within taking care of yourself when there is no hope, how do you find how do I put this? How do you find the invisible within the visible? What are the messages of hope? What are the messages beyond this earthly realm to get you through that next day, that next hour, sometimes that next second?
Hope you enjoyed today's segment with Paige Valdiserri. For more information about her book, The Red Bag, go to her website, redbagpress.com. Don't forget to visit secondact.tv for more information and videos with Paige Valdiserri. See you soon.